Welcome to our Time Saver Moneymaker Screencast series. In this series, we will introduce you to the world of extensible technology. Extensions are a way for you to customize your application to fit your very particular needs. Xdata for QuarkXPress and InData for InDesign are great examples of this type of customization. While the screencast you are about to watch shows Xdata in action, all of the features of Xdata used with QuarkXPress are also available through the use of InData along with InDesign. If you are familiar with the term mail merge, then you understand the premise of Xdata and InData. If you're not familiar with this term, then think along the lines of addressing a letter to each of your customers. The automatic process of addressing each letter from a list of customers is called mail merge. Take this a bit further and you could customize the content of the letter in addition to the address. Maybe include their current balance, the status of a project, or an upcoming special offer where the value of the offer is tied to the amount of business they've done with you. In this Time Saver Moneymaker screencast, we'll have a close look at not only how to use Xdata and therefore InData, but perhaps give you a few ideas on how you can use these great products to offer new services to your customers and make more money. This is a QuarkXPress 8 project with a layout for a 12-up business card. I've already flowed my text into this using Xdata, but I'll show you how I did that. Let's first have a look at the data that we will use to create these business cards. Data can be stored in a text file, in a spreadsheet, or in a database. Just about anything can be a data source. My data is in FileMaker Pro, but when I'm ready to use it in Xdata or InData, I export it as a text file, like this one. If we look at these business cards, we first note that styles have been applied to this text, and it's no longer simple plain text like what we saw in the text file. Normally, when we import plain text into QuarkXPress or InDesign, we have a very limited support for styles. But with Xdata and InData, we have all the power we need. Xdata and InData work from what we call a prototype. If you were designing a new model of a car at a factory, you would build a sample car, or a prototype, so that the factory workers would know exactly what the finished car is supposed to look like. That's what we'll do with Xdata and InData. We build a sample. Let's take a look at the prototype. It doesn't look much like a programming language, does it? That's because while Xdata and InData support Boolean expressions, something like what you can do in Excel formulae, it's very English-like. Even though it looks like English, it's not always easy to jump in and write your own prototype. The good news is that Xdata and InData ship with some sample prototypes that you can modify for your own needs. If you need more help, both the Power Exchange and Exchange UK have team members who are pros at writing prototypes or at helping you find errors in ones that you've written. This first row is simply a list of the fields that I have in my data set, in the same order as the data set. I'll show you that again. We have the first and last names, the title, address, phone, fax, and email. Some of my fields are not even shown in this view, but I can import them anyway. Remember, it's all about the text file that you export and the order of the fields. These chevrons here are how you give instructions to Xdata and InData. All instructions must be enclosed in chevrons. If I show my invisibles, you can see that this final character is a downward pointing arrow. This is the Enter key. This key is the command for creating more than one business card. The purpose of this prototype is to import and format the first record or business card, and then go to the next record in my data, the next person's business card, and import the record and apply style to that one. The cycle continues until I've imported and formatted all of the records in my data set. Look closely at each line. You can see that I have a style sheet for these lines of text, and they were applied during the import process. You can use both character level and paragraph level style sheets in addition to local formatting. Okay, enough poking around. Let's actually see how this works. I've created all of the static components on a master page, including this picture, this purple band that appears at the top and bottom edge of the cards, and the text boxes. If I click on the text linking tool, you can see that I've linked the boxes of each card to the boxes of the next card. I've set my QuarkXPress preferences to add pages at the end of the document as pages are needed, so that when I import my data, if I have names for more than 12 business cards, QuarkXPress will continue to add pages until I've run out of names. I'll go back to the layout and select all of the text and delete it. As a comparison, let's do a regular import. Certainly not the results I was hoping for. But now let's get Xdata involved and choose Import from File. Wow, that was fast. Xdata created 24 business cards in about 5 seconds, and look, all the style sheets are in place and ready to go. To fully appreciate the benefit of using style sheets, I'll change the color and size of one of the office names, and then use the Update Style Sheets button to push that out to all of the instances where that style sheet has been used. My project, with customer-requested changes, is complete in less than the time that it would take my colleague to type the information and format just one of the business cards. This is just one example, so stay tuned for examples of phone books, product catalogs, calendars, and more. This is a trading card project. It's 1 up, but as you saw with the business cards, it could just as easily be 10 up, 50 up, or even 100 up, all depending upon the sheet size on which you will be printing the project. This prototype is on both sides of my pasteboard, but that's okay. It's linked using the text linking tool, so it really doesn't matter where the prototype is. This design has a lot more fields and even includes a graphic. Xdata and InData have full support for graphics, as long as you can anchor them in the text flow. Sometimes you have to be a bit creative when you plan out your prototype in order to accommodate the graphic placement. Here again, I'll delete all the text and the pages that have been created and do a regular import. Importing the text like this does mean we won't have to retype it, but my text is all white, my styles have not been applied, tab settings are gone, and my graphic is nowhere to be found. Import from File, and just like before, cards are added based on my master page for each record in the data set. The end result is perfect and exactly what I was looking for. Let's take a look at the power of Xdata and InData in a completely different type of project, a phone book. In this data, some are business names and some are the names of individuals. See this blue text here? This is a Boolean expression, and it is testing my data. If we have a look at the data, I have a field with a numeral 1 in it. This numeral 1 only appears if the record is for a business, but when the record is an individual, then this field has a 0 in it. My prototype is looking inside this field, and if there is a numeral 1 in this field, then this symbol is inserted before the listing. That's not the only field I'm testing. Look here and you can see that there are lots more. In most of these, I'm testing to ensure that there is content, and if there is, then I put that content on the card, or maybe I put a label in front of the content. Xdata and InData can even add text on import that's not part of the data set. Now I'll delete all this text and import using Xdata. Simple as that, I now have a completed phone book with delineation between business and personal addresses, rules between the entries, and more, all on the fly. At the top of the page, I've created dictionary-style page headers that Xdata and InData can automatically update as the text is imported or changed. To see the update at work, I'll delete this first record. When I do, the header information is no longer correct since this reflects the first page entry that I just deleted. When I choose Update Headers Footers from the Xdata menu, the header now reflects the current record. This Xdata project is a directory of realtors. Instead of having an empty picture box when no picture was provided by the customer, I've created a default picture that will be imported. Let's look at the data. My picture field is here, the last field. When no picture exists for the realtor, I've typed the word default. This is actually the name of the picture that I created. This line here in my prototype tells Xdata in what field I've put the name of the picture. I don't actually have the picture placed in the data. This tells Xdata that the pictures are in a folder titled Images. Another special bit of formatting here are the rules above that I've used to reverse the office names out of a block of color. I've grouped all of the realtors together by the office in which they work, and then the members of that office are listed alphabetically below. To achieve this result, you do need to be able to sort your data and group them together before import. While Xdata and InData can look one record forward and one record backward, they cannot reorder the records. For this directory, each line of the record is set to keep with the next paragraph. That locks the lines of each realtor's contact information together as a group so that they don't break across the columns. If I set every line to keep with next paragraph, then we wouldn't be allowing any column breaks at all, and all of the records would just disappear. Many of the records end with the name, some with the email address, and some with the URL. Whatever the last line, I have to set that to not keep with the next paragraph, because that's the delineation between two records and a place where I am okay with it breaking across columns. We handle allowable column breaks by applying style sheets when we test the content of fields. At first glance, these two expressions appear the same, but they're really not. This second one has a paragraph setting that keeps it with the next paragraph if there is a next paragraph. This one doesn't have that setting. By way of example, let's take a look at Daryl on page 2. He does not have a URL, but there's not enough space at the bottom of this column that the entire record could move down. If Daryl's email address had the setting to keep it with the next paragraph, like all of the other lines in his record, then Daryl's entire record would be forced to the top of the next column. In this way, I've provided automatic control for when a break is allowed. In short, I've set each of these expressions to test whether or not this is the last line of the record by testing the next field inside the record for content. If it does have content, then I keep it with the next paragraph, and if it does not, I turn off the keep feature and allow the break. While we're working with realtors, let's have a look at a real estate guide. You could also do this for any type of trader-style magazine. This is a really simple prototype with only 3 fields to handle a bit of text and the importing of a picture. This product catalog is one of my favorite examples. It uses 4 different picture boxes anchored in text, rules above and below, and keep with next paragraph settings, but it's also really simple to do. I'll delete the text and then use Xdata to import and format the text. I only have a couple pages here, but you get the idea. In our final example, I have a calendar. Notice that I have 12 master pages, 1 for each month. In my prototype, I test the data to find out if this record is the start of the month, and if it is, I apply the appropriate master page. Once my data is in, I'll simply update my headers to get the right month and year on each page. I hope that this screencast has given you lots of ideas about how you can automate your projects, everything from simple mail merges such as custom letters to your clients to detailed product catalogs with lots of pictures. If you need help with Xdata or InData, both the Power Exchange and Exchange UK provide complimentary technical support to their customers. Email them at support@thepowerexchange.com or support@exchangeuk.com.